power to the leaders who have made Africa to be where it is. Power to the ancestors that have died for us in tough times, where blood in South Africa, in Africa as a continent, have split away. Power to the Africans that have fight for freedom, that have fight for people, that have fight for liberation, that have fight for us as African child, as African new generation, as African generations to come after us. We say power to them, and may their soul rest in peace, and may their soul rest in power. Wherever their soul and their spirit are, may it rest in power and in peace. May God have mercy on those souls that have died in in that era of apartheid, where they fight for peace in world, and may peace continue in the black generation and generation to come. As Pan-Africanism, I'm saying to all of us who are Pan-African and who are African, whether in African continent or whether outside the continent, in America, in Egypt, in China, in Russia, in Scotland, wherever they are, I'm saying uh, power to Africans. Let the African get out of the slavery. Let the African rule and be the leadership in African. What I want to say this time is that all African leaders that are leading, may you be the real deal of African. May you be the real deal of African. Do not be a deal that is controlled by white people. Don't be a deal that is controlled by white people. I don't regret what I'm saying. I'm saying don't be a deal that is controlled by white people. We must start developing. We must start developing our own country and our own black African as Africa, to start owning our own things. Yes, Mandela and other people, African people, have fought for liberation, for freedom, and for the democracy. But are we living the freedom that they have fought for? The answer for me is no. Are we living the democracy that we fought for? The answer is still no. As long as people are still suffering, and as long as African child is still sleeping with an empty stomach, that thing is not democracy. Those people, they owe us a lot of money, and they must bring back what they have taken to us. The minerals that they are digging each and every day, and doing our people slave to dig, they say mineral in our own land, must be come to an end. Must be come to an end. As African people and as African leaders, we are aware that Africa as a whole, African continent as a whole, is very powerful in minerals and is very powerful in infrastructure and is very powerful for other countries to come in our own country to trade with their business. So we are not disagreeing or we are not putting a hate on white people. What I'm saying and trying to say, I want someone to understand me, whether you are white people or black people, it doesn't matter. The matter is that we must be fair. We must be fair on trading. We must be fair on trading. No one is going to be a slave of someone else in this life. No one cannot be a slave of someone else. I am a real deal. I am a real deal. And I'm hoping that you are looking upon after me. Whether you are in America watching this channel, whether you are in Europe watching this channel, whether you are Afrikaner watching this channel, I'm not afraid to say the truth. I'm not afraid to say the truth. I will say the truth the way it is because I'm a real deal. I'm real deal and I'm saying and I'm doing what I am born for. So I want someone to understand me very clearly. This thing of black people to be slavery of white, it must come to an end. And then we are not going to punish the young generation of white people to be punished because of their mistakes and their sins of their parents or of their ancestors. We are going to continue with the humility and working together as African and white for us to survive and live in a world that has peace. I think someone is understanding me very well. In a world that has peace, but we must ban and remove this thing of I'm not saying all white people. You must understand me. I know some white people don't know nothing about this. Some white people I know, they don't know, they are not even involved in this thing. I'm saying to those who are involved in the evility of doing this thing, we don't want history to repeat itself to our own people. We don't want history to repeat itself in our people. As we are African leaders, we are we are aware of the things that are happening. And we know very well the history that has happened before we come. Because we are now a second generation. We are now another generation. This thing of China, this thing of America must come to an end fighting for Africa and fighting for minerals of Africa. These minerals of Africa are for Africans, are for the one who live in this world, are for the one who live in this land. We won't allow anyone to dig our land without permission, or we won't allow this thing of you coming to our own chiefs and kings and doing them to fight each other. After that, you make a cohesion of leader of African leader to fight each other. So you confuse them so that you can reap the richness of their land. We cannot allow that. and we will not even continue allowing it. It must come to an end, and it is end now. So, African leaders, I'm calling upon you at this time, at this moment, uh, that we must now focus on developing rural area. We must now focus on building cities. We must now focus on creating jobs ourselves. We must not be greedy for white money. We must stop this thing of being greedy for white money. In any way around, yes, it's our money. They take this money in this continent, but yet it's their money. But we must cancel this thing. We must cancel this thing of being greedy for white money. That is what I'm calling upon, so that this thing of being greedy for money must come to an end. Our people are killing each other because they lack information and wisdom. They don't know what it is happening. The poor are killing the rich. The middle class are killing the lower class because of hunger, because of this confusion that these people are bringing in our land. So this thing must come to an end. We can't continue living like animals in the bush or in the forest, eating each other. That is not the humanity of African. That is not life of African. We cannot continue watching these kind of things happening in our own land, in our own country, own continent. We will not continue and we will not obey watching that. So I'm calling all leaders, whether you are watching me in America, African leaders, whether you are watching me in what we call Scotland or wherever overseas, whether you are watching, we must create our own educational African system. We are tired of being educated by the things of which we don't know where they come from. We must now start our own African educational system. So I'm calling upon all leaders. You may comment below and say your view, say whatever you want to say about what I've said.